Hey gang, welcome to April's first version of Wisdom Wednesday, live from Austin Dental Spa here in beautiful Austin, Texas. Before we get into today's scientific portion, I've got a correction to make from last week. One of my lovely nutrition friends called me out after the talk last week when we talked about apple cider vinegar and how acidic it was and how it can affect your stomach lining and even into your intestines. And she sent me a correction, and I will be the first to admit this was something I did not know, that somehow magically apple cider vinegar, which is acidic, like 2.5 to 3 pH, when it gets into your stomach and gets hit with stomach acids, it reverses and becomes alkaline. So that's where it has all the beneficial qualities to it, because it reduces the acidity and actually increases the masculinity. So who knew? I didn't, and I did probably 30 minutes worth of research last week on Google about apple cider vinegar. So I stand corrected. Thanks for pointing that out. Hey, I have great watchers for this thing, and they're keeping me honest. Had another request last week from my honey from Montana, who came in and got her teeth cleaned last week. She comes all the way from Montana to Austin Dental Spa to get her teeth cleaned. She also has family here. And she said, I watch every Wisdom Wednesday. Why don't you dance? Well, there was about 2 years ago, there was a dentist in North Carolina, I think, much younger and more attractive than me, that kind of went down his hallway doing a little dance. And I said, no, that's already been done. He's already taken the market. They call him the dancing dentist now. He even ended up on like Good Morning America or something. So I'm not going to dance. But the theme for this month in April is spring into spring. So I can do that. My knees probably will not like me tomorrow, but we're going to spring into spring and spring into action and talk about some fun subjects this month. And the first thing we're going to talk about, I've brought it up a couple of times in the last 2 years since the pandemic and then the gradual reopening. I'd never heard of Zoom calls before then. We had Zoom whitening here in the office for many years, but Zoom calls, now I've been on a bunch of them. I subscribe to Zoom so I don't have to get cut off after 20 minutes on the free subscription. But Zoom calls are pretty endemic now. Everybody seems to do them. I've done 2 this week to people in other cities who used to be, you did it in person, but now a lot of business is done on Zoom calls. Well, who knew at the beginning of all this that Zoom forces you to see yourself right there next to the person you're talking to? And immediately when things started reopening, I had several Dell executives that came to me saying, can you do something about these teeth? They're ugly, they're dark, and they've got spaces between my front teeth, or one side shorter than the other. They'd never noticed it before because when they were meeting in person in conference rooms, they didn't have to look at themselves. And now I've understood there's a reason why they don't put mirrors in conference rooms. I never had thought about that either. But we did several smile makeovers and a lot of Zoom whitenings off of Zoom meetings. And so I never would have thought that, but it got me to thinking. And since we're talking about springing into spring, people want to look younger. And one thing that we know after 42 years of doing this is people's teeth get dark as they get older. And 4-year-old granddaughters have sold more cosmetic dentistry than I've ever thought about. I've had ladies as my patients for 20 years, and they've never brought up cosmetic dentistry, never brought up whitening. And all of a sudden they'll come in after they've been patients here for 20 years and say, how soon can I get in to get my teeth whitened? And I'm like, why now? We've known each other 20 years and you've never expressed an interest. They're like, my 4-year-old granddaughter, I saw her at Christmas and she was sitting on my lap and she said, Meemaw, why are your teeth brown? boom, Meemaw's in here getting her teeth whitened the next week. So 4-year-olds have more power than I do. And they're better salespeople too, because they don't have that filter. And I remember that's when I quit taking my kids to the grocery store at about age 4, because they'd say, Daddy, look at that fat lady. And she's standing 2 feet away. And I had a little explaining to do, or had to go down a couple of aisles further away, because kids at 4 years old don't have those filters, and neither do Zoom calls. So what can a smile makeover do for you? Well, I brought up our little iPad here to just show you. There's Drew. There's my buddy, the doctor. That was him before. That's him now. You think he looks a little younger? All the ladies in my office said I knocked 10 years off of him. So you'll see several of these. There's another one that had a crowded smile. Look at the difference there. We did the front 6. Typically we do 8 or 10. She didn't want to mess with the ones in the back, so they still show the darker teeth. But you can see, if my thumb works, come on. Okay, it's not scrolling. It was doing it before we got on. Anyway, you can see from just those 2 examples, dark teeth. They're in their 60s. We redid them, got them whiter teeth than probably they ever would. I went through that experience 22 years ago with my own teeth. They were getting kind of dark. I was whitening them every year with the whitening systems that we had back then. We've gotten much better. And I put veneers on my front teeth, or had a friend of mine put veneers on my front teeth. And immediately, for the whole next year, people kept coming in saying, have you lost some weight? You look, what are you doing? You look younger. It was the teeth. The only thing I'd changed. Several people said, did you shave a mustache off? They knew something was different, but it's such a subtle change. We hear that all the time when we do smile makeovers now from people. What can smile makeovers do? Well, whitening is the basic starting point. Come in for whitening, 90 minutes, $400, and your teeth are going to be 6 to 8 shades whiter. That's a younger look. But, oh yeah, here's another one before and after. That's Maddie. Oh, that's my veterinarian. Check out the difference there. Look at what a difference. She's so happy now. She said, you made me feel 20 years younger. I'm more confident going in and talking to my pet owners, and she looks amazing. So that's what a smile maker will do. Veneers are thin pieces of porcelain, not much thicker than your fingernail, that are cemented over the front surface of your teeth. If we're trying to make your teeth look bigger, virtually no preparation has to be done on your teeth. If they're already kind of big and you're wanting them to look smaller, or they're really dark and you want them to be significantly whiter, we have to prepare some tooth structure off, but then we put it right back. You never run around with no tooth structure. If you've got spaces between your teeth, we don't really need to do any preparation. We're trying to add to the tooth to close that in. And so the veneers are cemented over. They're intended to be permanent. Mine have been on 22 years. Never had any problems with them. So they're long lasting. They last longer than most of the dental work that we do on the back teeth, because they don't get chewed on. They're hanging out here in the front. So veneers can change the color. They can change the shape. They can add length on. So you take a 50-year-old woman and add length and make them a whiter color, and they look 20 years younger, you got a friend for life. So we love doing the cosmetic dentistry. So if you're thinking about it, come see us. We've got several cases going on right now that'll be added to this before and after. So spring into spring. And my health tip for the week is, your toothbrush at home, take a look at it. If the bristles are going like that, you're in good shape. If the bristles are going like that and pointing towards the walls on either side of you, it's time to replace the toothbrush. If you're using an ultrasonic toothbrush, you need to just replace the head. You don't have to throw the motor part out, but they make little replaceable heads. Your bristles should be going like that, not like that. So that's my health tip of the week. I'll see you next week for another version of Wisdom Wednesday, and we'll cover some more topics that we can spring into. See you next week.